Welcome to Alabama. On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're exploring 3 stunning homes in Birmingham, Alabama, where history, creativity, and charm come together. First, we step inside a spectacular home once known as a grand ballroom, now transformed into a dramatic and theatrical space filled with family relics and curious antiques. Next, we visit a beautifully curated home where a designer and his partner embrace the art of DIY, transforming their space with vintage finds and meaningful treasures. Finally, we tour the Birmingham home of an interior designer, where coastal furnishings and charming antiques create a welcoming and lighthearted atmosphere. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Scan the QR code to subscribe to our new channel, Weddingworthy, where we celebrate amazing couples and the love stories behind their perfect day.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Mason.
I'm Danielle.
She's my interior designer, not my wife. Come on in and see my home in Birmingham, Alabama.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey, my name is Mason McCulley. I'm an actor, and welcome to my home in Birmingham, Alabama. Here I have with me my friend and interior designer, Danielle.
Hi. I'm Danielle Balanis. I'm an interior designer based here in Birmingham, Alabama, and I've had the joy and privilege of working with Mason, creating this beautiful space.
And we're going to show you around, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. So I've been in this condo about 3 years. I grew up in Birmingham, but I was in LA for 20 years, and I was sort of feeling a pull back to Birmingham. It was in the back of my mind, and I was on the phone with a friend, and I had kind of casually mentioned that in the future I would move back to Birmingham, and she sent me this listing while we were on the phone, and it was so magical that it pulled me back to Birmingham. And this building was built in 1924, and it was apartments when it was built. It was the first of its kind in Alabama. And in the 80s, they converted the apartments into condos. My unit was the ballroom of the building. And I saw photographs of it before it was renovated, and it looked like, it was fabulous, and it looked like someone's fabulous grandmother lived in it. Like dated, but really lovely. And then before I got it, it was renovated by Andrew Brown. And the way I describe it is, it looked like someone's fabulous aunt lived in it. Maybe she had been divorced several times. So when we got it, and we got to start playing with it, it was a blank canvas, but it was a blank canvas with these beautiful features, the painted floor, the curtains, the renovated mirrored walls. And so it really allowed us to have fun with.
Yes, we had this unbelievable shell to work within, and it really allowed us to bring our quirkiness and weirdness to life.
And we got to use our imagination.
Yes.
I've always been a creative, and whether it was making costumes or puppets or doing theater, I've always been a creative type, and I had always dreamed of going to Hollywood. And so when I was 18 years old, I went out to LA to attend Pepperdine University to study theater. And the reason I chose to go out to Pepperdine is so I could stay in LA, and I did. I stayed in LA, and I pursued TV and film, and I did a bunch of television shows, and I was also a professor in the theater program at Pepperdine University. And I've done some really neat things. I'm typically an actor that pops in on a TV show and then leaves, but I've been a part of some really cool TV shows. And most recently what I've done as an actor is I wrote a one-man show called Carol Cook Died for My Sins, and it's my true story from darkness to light. And what's so fun about that show is that the set of the play is actually based on this home, specifically the bedroom. And when we were kind of coming up with the idea of what the set was going to look like, all of the ideas and the mood boards were all about, as I had said, the story and the world inside my head. And so the set designer, Teshi Nakagawa, was like, well, then it has to be Mason's home, that the inside of Mason's head, this reflects it. And so while I'm in Birmingham, because I've been pulled home, I still spend a lot of time in Los Angeles and New York. So I still keep up my creative ventures.
You're a well-traveled man.
I try.
For me, for design, I did grow up loving it. I would keep journals and make drawings of things, and my mother had Architectural Digest in stacks, and I would just sit and peel through them. As I grew up, I sort of left that notion of design and then came back to it midway through college. It's a passion, it's a love, and even if I had just one person I was working with, it would just fill me so much. I truly enjoy the people, the creating, all the things.
So I feel like I've known Danielle forever. I truly do. I
Yeah.
feel like we're kindred spirits. So everyone's saying you have to meet Danielle, you have to meet Danielle, and I met Danielle, and I'm so grateful that it was Danielle, because this would not have happened or worked with anyone else, because it's such a collaboration, and if I ever bring a weird idea to Danielle, she makes it weirder. And if she brings a weird idea to me, I make it weirder. It's never us like curating each other or editing each other. It's always like, and then we can add this on and we can add this on. So we've had so much fun, and I can't imagine doing this with anybody else.
It was a lot of ping-ponging. And when I first met Mason, he actually had his family here for the initial interview to hire me. I had to go through the whole group to get in, but thank goodness I got the blessing, it worked.
She needed approval and
Yes.
the blessing, and everyone approved and everyone blessed. Well, this home is truly a reflection of the world inside my head. This is, I think, truly the meaning of a home, because this is my sanctuary. This is the way I describe this home is this is a place for me to put my things. And I don't just mean my really fun, fabulous things that I love so much. It's a place for me to put my ideas. It's a place for me to put my dreams. It's a place for me to put my memories. And there is such creative and spiritual safety in this place. And so when we started scheming what this was going to look like, it was just playing on, you know, the world inside my head and in your head. It was all about play. It was all about being playful and imagination and magic. And I think we've achieved it. I mean, it is magic.
Absolutely. I had this idea in my head when we first got together. Alessandro Michel was still the creative director at Gucci, and he really had this sort of nerdy library aesthetic that he was pushing out that I loved. And I was like, this is sort of this Gucci library meets cabaret, meets falling down Alice's rabbit hole. And I just think meeting has been so kismet that we could put this together and pull it off, because not everyone allows me to be this creative, and I love that push.
Welcome to my foyer, or if you're fancy, foyer.
Here in the foyer, we really wanted to showcase some personal elements of Mason, as you see throughout the house, but this is, I think, extra special. There was always a vision of the mast of a ship having a mermaid, so you see Mason found locally this really amazing table, which he's painted, and it's got that kind of sea mythology thing going on. There's all these great books, pieces that showcase who Mason is, a crystal ball, because who doesn't love a crystal ball? And then there is art, and this is all very special. Each piece has a meaning for Mason, and what we loved that we did when putting this together was some asymmetry. I think it was great for it not to be completely perfect, but for it to make your eye do different things.
I think that one thing that's so fun about this space is that right away you're greeted by a cast of characters. And a character that you're going to hear a lot about as we go throughout my home is this one right here. This is Carol Cook. Carol Cook was a prolific actress. She was very much my muse, and she was very much a confidant and dear friend. And this was a piece that was done by my friend Krista Makovina, and it was actually a test portrait for the play that I wrote called Carol Cook Died for My Sins. And so you're greeted by Carol, and then I have some Jesuses happening. This one came from France. I have a friend who's an antique dealer, and she was going to France on a buying trip, and I said, please find me something religious and weird. The weirder the better. And so This is like a very iconic image of Jesus, but I call it Jesus Can't Even, because it looks like he just can't even. It looks like he just can't even. And then there's another portrait of Jesus here, and then what I love are these bronze busts. I got them at the flea market in Mexico City. And it's so fun because you're greeted by these characters. In keeping with what Danielle was talking about regarding the mast of the ship, we have 2 mermaids that greet you when you arrive. And they were actually props from Sony Studios. Sony was having a prop auction, and I got very invested in bidding on these mermaids. So much so that I think I probably did it wrong, because I think I ended up spending a little too much money. But I love them so much, and
We had looked everywhere.
we looked everywhere for
I remember
mermaids.
it was just a very long hunt, and so when he found these, I said, "You better get them."
Because we were originally going to put a mermaid there.
Yes.
We couldn't find a mermaid. Listen, a mermaid from a ship is very hard to find.
But 2 is better than 1.
2 is better than 1. And so those are my Sony Pictures prop mermaids. This portrait here is a great 13 times either uncle or grandfather, but he came over from England a very, very long time ago, and that was actually hanging in a great aunt's house. These I love. These are Toby jugs that belong to my grandmother. I loved them so much as a child. My grandmother would get one every year, a different one every year, and so we have a whole collection of different characters of the Toby jugs. And my grandmother had them all over her mantelpiece when I was a kid, and I would always admire them because they were so theatrical to me, and she would always say, "When I die, those are yours." And there they are. That one's the Pied Piper, and that's what some people refer to me as.
So now we're heading into the living room, and one of the first things you notice is this amazing mural that was hand painted by a fabulous LA artist who's good friends with Mason. Leading into this, he and I looked and looked at a million wallpapers because we knew that this arch needed something really special, and nothing worked. Nothing was right.
Yeah.
Like we had so many trial and errors, and I think there were some that were close, but you finally came up with the idea that your friend.
Yes, my friend Krista Makovina, who is a brilliant artist based in Los Angeles, she actually painted this in LA on muslin in her studio, and then she shipped it to Birmingham, and Danielle's installer, they put up scaffolding, and there were 4 people here, and they were spraying it down, and they beautifully adhered it to this arch. And the story of the mural is the heron represents my mother, who passed away a year and a half ago, and then the peacock, while it is a male peacock, it represents my friend Carol Cook, who I spoke of earlier. And they both passed away 3 months apart from each other, and they are my 2 muses, my 2 guardians. And the name of this mural is In the Story, because amidst my grief journey, I realized that life really gets good and gets really sweet when you realize you're in the middle of the story. It's not about the past, and it's not about the future, it's about the present. And that's what this is. It's in the middle of the story, and there is the dark of the forest and the light of the forest, and it represents my journey and the magic that can be. You know, no matter how dark it gets, there's always light. And I just think it's so special, and it's such a centerpiece to this room.
I don't think anything would have worked. I think it had to be commissioned because it's so thought out, so special. And to finish it off, we decided, like last minute as they were hanging it, I ordered this chartreuse grosgrain from Samuel & Sons because we knew it needed something to make it feel edged out and complete. And I think it really does. It punctuates it in all the right ways.
And everything means something. There's a bird cage. There's a ladybug. Everything, is symbolic. And Krista, she captured it. She
Nailed
captured
it.
the whole
Yes.
thing.
So as you can see, this ballroom, it's massive. It's sort of a bowling alley of a room. And walking in, I knew we had to separate it into 3 even sections. So we've got this, which is our more casual seating, hangout area. And when Mason moved in, he had no furniture. So he just ran out and bought 2 chairs and a sofa without, he just had to have somewhere to
I
sit.
didn't consult Danielle.
He didn't. So the sofa was easy. It was great. We were able to throw pillows, this wonderful, I believe it's an Afghan throw on it, and it just worked. The chairs were gray.
She didn't like the color.
They weren't terrible, but we found this lovely Osborne and Little chartreuse fabric also. There's a common thread. It's a color we love. And we were able to recover them, and they just took on a new life. They feel so much more substantial and bespoke. And then these amazing pillows he found in Aspen. He's always traveling, finding great things.
Yeah, and I texted you photos of
Yes. But this area is all about being cozy, having conversation. I mean, every time I come over, this is where we sit and talk and drink our Diet Coke.
And drink our Diet Coke. And
Yeah.
it's collected. This is
Yes.
a collected space.
It is.
And this gallery wall, everything on the wall means something.
Yes.
And I feel like, the way Danielle split up the room into 3, this really is, even though it's casual with giant peacocks, it really is like, this is the whimsical, this is the fun part.
Yes.
And as I said, all of the art means something, and this is the theatrics.
And it's a mix of new and old. There are antique pieces. There's a new coffee table. There's these thrifty fine chairs, which I want to buy from him if he'll ever sell them to me. There's these new lamps that we did custom lampshades for. It's such a blend and a marriage of what's crusty and clean, and it makes it work.
And one thing that's kind of a fun story is that originally, and these are giant planters, they're 500 pounds each. Originally, there were 14-foot live palm trees in them, and they were gorgeous. They were very grand. They were the bane of my existence, and I couldn't. It didn't work, and so we had but the palm trees are doing great. They actually, this is true, they got planted by someone's pool, so they're living life. But my friend created these tabletops, and we found these amazing Italian men and the peacocks, and so we continued the drama and the height without the palms, and I'm obsessed. It's so gay. So as I said, I'm inspired by people and characters, and this is my chance to name drop with this gallery wall. But this is a portrait of my friend Annalie Ashford, and she was my roommate in LA when she was filming the show Masters of Sex on Showtime. And she came home with these, they were doing a shoot on set, and she had this photograph, and I was obsessed with it, and I was like, I have to have it. And so she gave it to me, and then Danielle had this beautiful frame put together. And then another one that is very special to me. I think this was in Vanity Fair. It was just a page I ripped out of Issa Rae. And Issa Rae is the creator and star of Insecure. And I got to do 3 seasons of Insecure. That was a very big piece of my life. And as I said before, I pop in and out of TV shows, but that was the only show that I got to come back on. And I was a small part on a big show, but it meant a lot to me. And I love that photograph of her. And then this I have to speak of. This is very special. This was the first costume sketch. I believe it was 1959 when my friend Carol Cook was signed to Desilu by Lucille Ball. I was cleaning out her garage in LA, and I found this, and I had it framed, and she said I could have it. So this whole wall is filled with everything means something.
So the mirrors that are on this wall and that wall were part of the bonus of buying a home originally designed by Andrew Brown, and they really expand the space. Instead of that being a solid wall and it closing in, you see reflectiveness, and it makes it feel bigger. So yes, that's a masterclass trick that Andrew Brown taught us.
And what I think is so fun is there's, even though it's these beautiful mirrors and we've filled it with art, you see other things within the mirrors.
Yes.
If you're sitting over there, you see the portrait of my great-grandfather. Mm-hmm. Over here, we left this intentionally blank because you see the profile of this beautiful carved man. Yeah, I don't know, it adds so much more magic to the space.
It does.
I love this piece so much because Danielle has taught me all about high and low and texture. And this came from my friend Betty Margaret, who has an antique store called The Nest. And she posted a photo of it on Instagram, and it was still in the truck, and it was strapped up. And I texted Danielle, and I was like, I don't know where that's going to go or what we're going to do with it, but we have to get it. And it's an old pedestal, and it was originally red, and it's messed up, and the green paint is actually from where it was out in someone's yard, and the man was painting his house this green-gray color, and so he would just use it to wipe his brush on but there's this patina on it. And so it's one of my favorite pieces that I have, and it's not because it's fancy. Someone would think it's not worth anything. Someone found it in a yard, but to me it looks like it's like sunken treasure. It looks like it could live in the bottom of a fishbowl.
It's perfectly imperfect.
It's perfectly imperfect, and this is a story right here. You look at this piece, and there's a story is being told.
It's lived many lives.
It has lived many lives. Yes, I am a maximalist. I mean, it's all everyone's. Someone called me like a chic hoarder.
Collector.
I'm a collector.
You're a
Thank
collector.
you. I like my things, and it's not because they are so valuable. They're valuable to me. I like the stories behind them, and I like, as you said, layering and collecting and telling a story in a vignette. And yeah, definitely a maximalist. This is theater. That's what this is. I mean, design is theater. This is theatrics, and especially in a place like this. I mean, you gotta go a little bit crazy and have fun with it, otherwise what's the point? It would be boring if you walked in here and it wasn't a little bit ridiculous.
I think I read recently someone saying how layering is intelligent. It makes your room intelligent. And it really does.
I'm intelligent, is what you're saying.
My mantra is always more is more. So I'm like, bring it on. I love all that Mason pulls out. When we were getting things for his place, he has this very lovely fairy godmother Rhoda, and I went to her storage unit and pulled out items that she was going to gift Mason. And it was so fun. It was treasure hunting, it was digging. But yes, I'm a maximalist, and so I can't imagine someone who wanted a plain blank white apartment or home calling me. It fits.
And we're always texting each other constantly if we're like antiquing or traveling, and it's like, look what I found. Even if it's not something that we're going to buy, it's just like, oh my God, you'd love this. Danielle would love this. And we have such similar interests and aesthetics. And so, yeah, we get a kick out of something that's over the top and grand and weird. And sometimes Danielle will come up with an idea, and it's something that I wouldn't even think of, and I see it. She'll go, well, what about this here? And I'm like, yeah, I would have never thought about that. But it's I don't know, we play off of each other quite beautifully.
Yeah, it's good synergy.
It's fun. It's so fun. And that's what it should be. Fun.
Maybe we should open a store of weird objects.
I want to. I would love to open a store with weird objects. Okay, so this center table, as we see, we're surrounded by these beautiful chairs, and I think these chairs are the perfect example of the way we work together. I was at like an antique mall with all the different stalls, and I had seen these chairs before, and I think they're 1950s Italian reproduction, but the fabric on the seats were not very cute, but they were such a good deal. And I remember texting Danielle, and I don't even think that I was planning on having them at my place, but I texted you a photo of them, and right away she said, I have scrap designer fabric, and we can pick a different
scrap each chair. Yeah.
And they've become this like beautiful centerpiece to the room.
I mean, this is such a small piece of something that you really couldn't have used it for anything else. And the fact that we could creatively integrate it into all these chairs, and it's just another pop of color and life, and I think it goes so well,
and it's playful, and I think that as grand as this room is, you walk in and you can't take yourself too seriously if you live in a place like this, because it's a bit ridiculous, like me. So I think this is the perfect sort of like,
it is.
Entrance.
It plays into fun. It does. We're gonna have fun.
So the reason the chairs are pointed outwards is because function is not always necessary when it comes to design. And they are functional because you can sit in them, but sometimes the only function is that they need to be pretty. And it looks really pretty.
Form over function.
Form over function. And
yes.
This table actually has 3 leaves. So if I wanted to host a dinner party, I could. I never have. But, we have we have a collection of chairs that we can scatter around that table.
And there are more chairs. We've got others that we originally picked. I mean, it's like we both have a chair problem.
Yes.
I love chairs. So
chairs are fun.
Yes. So we've got this amazing table we found on First Dibs, and it expands, but we like keeping it as more of a center round table. It functions with the way the rooms work. And we have always had this vision of a giant fishbowl with goldfish. I mean, why wouldn't you have that? So we finally made it come true. But I think this is all about the obscure and things that keep you questioning. And so aside from having a lovely vase of flowers, you've got to have something that's intriguing, and that's where the fish came into play.
So I grew up in Birmingham, and I had the great fortune of growing up with two artists on either side of our house as neighbors. And one of the artists was named Helen Balvig, and she was very much a grandmother, fairy godmother type figure to me, and this came from her house. This was a console that she had, and we were looking for something to sort of land here. And I don't know, it makes me happy. It makes me happy that it gets to live in this space. As early as 2 years old, my mom would let me wander over to my neighbors' houses, and I would just go sit in her kitchen and chit-chat. And it just makes me happy that there's a piece of her here.
So as we were on the hunt, we'd even consulted with a marble source here in town about making a custom piece and having them bring it in. And I really don't think anything would have been better or more special than this, something that was already existing, finding a new purpose and a new life in here. And going back to Gucci and the love of books, I think what better way to come into a dining room than to have your book collection out on display for everyone.
These are my favorites. These are three. I think there's four in the series, but I found three at a vintage bookstore here in Birmingham, and I bought it simply for the title. It's the Self-Interpreting Bible. I love that title so much, and I think that all Bibles should be self-interpreting.
So over here for the love of green, we've got the chartreuse happening in the living room, and now it's repeated with our lovely green glassware. And I think for Mason, he's always ready to entertain and host, whether it's two people coming by one afternoon or it's a party. And so I think he's prepared.
I'm prepared, and also the bar cart was a gift for my 40th birthday from my best friend Joe. And even though I don't drink alcohol anymore, my friends do, so I'm always ready to serve and host.
So some more of the gorgeous elements that we were able to inherit from Andrew's pre-design. These amazing floors that he had hand painted, the geometry, the play of the blue and black, it just goes so well with the fabrics and colors that we've brought in. So we have these 18-foot ceilings in this ballroom, and we also inherited these gorgeous creamy white drapes. They filter the light beautifully. They don't compete with what's happening in here. They're just a nice, subdued way to bring in all of our crazy. What I love most about this home is not just the grandeur, but I think it's how personal it is. There's so many pieces that have pulled in that have meaning, that come from a family member, that come from a friend. I just feel like it has a soul. And so I think that's what I love so much about this.
It does have a soul, and my favorite thing about this place is that it was a ballroom, and so it was meant to be a gathering place. It was a place, I think there are ghosts in here, good ones. It was a place where people celebrated. This is a place where people came and they danced and they had parties, and so we've done that. We host art parties, and there's been fundraisers in here, and it is a place for people to gather and to think and to celebrate, and that's how I feel when I'm in this home. I feel like I'm celebrating. I feel like I'm celebrating life, and I feel like I'm celebrating ideas and people that have come before me. I know that sounds so cheesy, but this place is filled with ancestors, and it's my ancestors, and it's ancestors of other people, and it feels creative. You walk in, and there's an energy that's in here.
Yes, good energy.
Good energy. So here we are in the more what we call formal part of the living room. And one of the things that I want to point out really quickly is that this, we talked about my fairy godmother Rhoda, who let us collect things. Well, I went to her house recently, and I was looking for some pots. I actually found that I stole this pot from her backyard. And in her backyard, there was this St. Francis statue, but it was in 3 different pieces. And I managed to find all 3 of the pieces and piece them back together, and St. Francis was my mother's favorite saint. So that made me so happy, and it was such a find. Then actually this is a garden bench. This is a limestone garden bench. It's extremely heavy. And in keeping with the layers of this home, these are books that were from my grandfather and great-grandfather, and then this beautiful, scantily clad man came from an antique store here in Birmingham, and I love the look of it all.
So as we make our way into this lovely cocoon, we've got plants stationed throughout, and it reminds me of a beautiful picture I saw of this white space that was Rose Tarlow's, and she had the outside coming in with her plants, and so it feels so inviting. We found this piece. This was one of the first pieces I introduced him to that we needed to purchase for the space, and it has been such an anchor for this room. And then the bird cages. Please tell us about the bird cages.
I like bird cages. You can probably tell I like bird cages. And so actually when Danielle when we first met, you said to me, I feel like we need a bird cage in this space. Do you remember saying
yes,
that?
Yes.
And so these we were just going to do one bird cage, but the bird cages have really taken on a symbolic meaning for me. And originally, when I had the bird cages, there weren't as many. I had pieces of crystal, antique crystal inside of them. And then one day I decided I don't want anything inside the bird cages. I wanted them to be empty. It was very symbolic. And then one day I jolted up and I was like, they can't only just be empty, they have to be open. So all of the bird cages are open. And there's a bird cage on the mural, and then I have one at the end of my bed, and then there's one in the corner. And the bird cages, to me, are freedom. It is freedom to be and to do and to live however you want to authentically live. And no matter what's in your cage, it doesn't have to stay there. So I love the notion of these bird cages. And then right here is the portrait of my grandfather. This is very special to me. My grandfather, I never knew him, but I'm named after him, and he was my mother's favorite person. And he was a renowned surgeon in the Southeast, but he wanted to be an actor. But his family did not support that dream, so he became a renowned surgeon. That portrait means a lot to me because I never knew him, but he had such an impact on my life, and I think that that's what portraits are, and that's what portraits do, is they're a recalling. They remind you of people that are past and of things that are within you. And I don't know, I think that's why these portraits are so fun. That's my great-great-aunt, and that's my great-grandmother. But yeah, I am so intrigued by ancestry. And I don't just mean the history of it, but what did they pass on to you? What did they pass on to you that you're not even aware of? I mean, he was a creative and wanted to be an actor, and I just think the notion of family members that came before us is so interesting.
Having these avant-garde portraitures also heightens the space of this parlor, more formal setup. You know, it's not as busy as what we did in the living room. It's a little more solemn and grounded. It is. It's grounded.
This is as grounded as it gets for me.
So this coffee table is another high-low thrifty find, and it was sort of an ugly brown wood, and I like brown wood furniture, but this was not elegant enough for the space, so we decided to paint it another favorite color, a beloved mustard, and had a local artist painter friend tackle this, and she did a phenomenal job in taking on, we did two-tone on the details and making it darker, and then the background, the lighter shade. So I'm very proud of how this turned out and how you could take something very inexpensive, junk teak, and turn it into something very bespoke and unique. Inspiration comes in so many forms, and for me, I think it's in the things I see, in the things I taste, in the things I hear. It's very sensorial for me, but I love music, and I think that has been a huge inspiration. I love movies and cinema. I think James Bond, any of those films, the way it designs, it's such a great inspiration. I love traveling. That inspires me. It's like Diana Vreeland said, the eye has to travel. And just, I think there's some great designers out there. There's your Miles Redd, your Pearson Wards, that are always keeping me inspired and on my toes.
For me, I am inspired by people. I am inspired by stories. I'm inspired by characters, and not just characters in books and characters in movies and TV, but like characters. And I also one of the things I am inspired by, which is kind of strange, is religious iconography. Like you're going to see it. There's a lot of religious iconography around here, and it's not because I'm religious, it's because I'm spiritual. But I'm inspired by the history of it and the story of it and the lore of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm inspired by characters. There's this home is filled with all sorts of characters, not just me, but it's people from my past or people from history, and I just think, yeah, quirk and character. Anything weird and wonderful and textured.
If this home is a circus of characters, you're the ringleader.
Yes, I am the ringleader. So now we're entering into my bedroom, and what I love about this space is that you have this beautiful view looking into the bedroom from the living room, but my favorite is the view that I have when I'm looking from the bed, and this is what I get to see, and this echoes the world inside my head, and this is actually what the set of my play was based on. This is the magic, this is the fun, this is the collected. I realized one day that essentially this entire space, not just this room, is an altar. And it's an altar, as I said, we were talking about the portraits, it's an altar to remind us of these people that have passed. And I love my little altar because, you know, I have Carol again, and then I have my mother, and then I have my grandmother, my great-grandfather, and I have all of these special people that I want to be reminded of. And one of my favorite things in this little corner is this card my mother sent me when I was in LA. I had it framed, and it was a time in my time in Los Angeles when absolutely nothing was going on for me acting-wise. And I got this card in the mail, and it said, "There is no use trying," said Alice. "One can't believe impossible things. I dare say you haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." It's from Alice in Wonderland. And inside the card, my mom wrote, "Keep believing, Mace." Well, that's what this is. This is us believing. And I feel this is the safe place that I spoke of. This is the sanctuary part. So this room is a collection of me, and one of my favorite pieces is this is a flag that belonged to my great-grandmother who was British, and we found it and I had it framed, and it's from like the 1800s, and this is all just a collection of different things that mean something to me.
So in the bedroom, we had these gorgeous drapes were already here, and we decided, I like a dark bedroom very, very much. I like the moodiness of it. I like the way it just feels a little bit sensual when you go to sleep. So we decided to match the color, painted the walls navy, ceiling as well, and just really made it feel so warm. This bed Mason picked out. It's lovely, and he had these great paintings which he painted himself. He's also an artist, one of his many talents, and so we knew the bed, the art, just to take things up, and then we put this antique tapestry as another layer on his bed because you can't have too many layers.
And there's actually a fun story. I was thinking about this morning. These paintings that I did, they were actually commissioned for the Greystone Mansion for the design show house a long time ago, like 10 years ago. And when I showed up and delivered them to the Greystone Mansion in LA, they didn't work. So now they're mine. But I love them so much. And I never had a space for them in LA because they're so big. But I always hoped that one day there'd be a space for them. And they are really fun here. Mm-hmm. So this table was given to me by my friend and muse, Carol Cook. This was her table that was in her dressing room forever and ever and ever. And she actually gave it to me while she was still alive. So it's very special to me. Yes. This tapestry I got in Canada, and this is true, or they say it was, I don't know, they could be lying, but it was woven by nuns in Quebec, and I thought that was really neat. Danielle found the mushrooms.
I did. Oh, they look like Mason. They look like something he would be like hopping through a field in Folly and just, there's mushrooms. So anything quirky like that I find. I love, I call them little kisses, little gifts you can give people. It's so fun.
This is my Michelangelo Moses that I got because he was handsome.
So one thing Mason and I both love doing is layering rugs. And Mason picked out and bought this rug that's in his bedroom. We weren't sure if we were going to use it in there and here, where it was going to go. It ended up fitting better in the bedroom, but we were able to add to it and layer on it. And I think it's just another way of making a room more complex and intelligent and interesting.
So this is the primary bathroom that I wanted to show you very quickly just because it's so fabulous. This is the way it came when I bought the place. Andrew Brown designed it, and the wallpaper is delicious, and the marble, and we didn't have to, there's so much happening in a beautiful way that we didn't have to do anything to it. We didn't want to do anything to it, except for this Nordic god right here. I added that. Okay, so these are all samples from Perfume Head, and the reason I got these is because my friend Krista Makovina, who painted the mural, designed a label for them. She designed the Moonflower label, and it's actually, the proceeds go to the Art of Elysium, which is a charity that I am very involved with in Los Angeles. So that's a fun little thing. And to warm up the space, we just added this estate sale rug that we found, and yeah, this is a cozy and wonderful place to get ready.
So now we're going to take you upstairs to the guest suite, which is behind mystery door number 1 here.
Ta-da! And we do have the wise men here, and they are out all year long, not just for Christmas. I have an affinity for the wise men. They're my favorite part of the nativity. And they are, in fact, astrologers.
Astrologers. And I think everyone needs one little kitschy something around the house. So this is like a little bit of bad taste goes a long way. So here we have the lovely guest suite, and it is once again filled with family relics and objects of interest. It's definitely a cabinet of curiosities.
We wanted it to kind of feel like a study. It's so cozy and dark up here, and these pieces were from a book from 1828 that belonged to I think it was my grandfather or my great-grandfather, but I had them framed, and it may have been my grandfather because the book is in German and he was a surgeon in the Second World War, so he could have acquired them while he was over there. But I just think that they're so interesting and beautiful, and they're all perfectly cut out, and yeah, they're also a little bit creepy, but like in an artistic way.
So in all the bedrooms, we definitely stayed super moody. I feel like you get the best sleep when it's dark and when you can just pull under this fur blanket and you're really layered into the room, you're embedded in it. So in keeping with the study idea, dual bedroom, we've got this lovely chest, another, find of Mason's here in town locally that just pulls everything together. The chair, the sofa, the books. The fox.
The fox. The fox is another find from my fairy godmother, Rhoda. And actually the fox often appears on my family's Thanksgiving table. We put the fox in the center of the table and we do flowers around the fox, which is strange and fun. Oh, this is fun. We call this our friendship vase.
Yes.
This is a piece we got here in Birmingham, and we share it. we pass it back and forth.
Yes, we both wanted it,
Yeah.
so it gets to live with both of us. We have joint custody.
Joint custody of the friendship base.
Yes. So this headboard was another find when I went with Rhoda and pillaged her storage unit, and we thought it would be perfect up here, and it is. It's petite enough with the lower ceilings, but it's cozy and it just works with these end tables, the lamps, the bedding. I think it was the perfect piece for the space. So this rug on the floor came from Mason's old place in LA. I love we were able to reuse it. I feel like sometimes you move from house to house and things just do not work. And I always feel happy to see something repurposed. I believe a home has a soul when it has things that have meaning. It's not just about gathering possessions, but it's about something that speaks to you within. And I think it is a connection of what you've got going on inside and what's happening outside. So for me, that's what gives a home a soul.
Exactly, and I think it's the soul and it's the story. And I think that when you walk in, the way I say about this place is that if let's say I'm not here and someone walks in, they're gonna look around and go, I have an idea of who this crazy person is.
That's good. Yeah.
It's true, it's
Yeah.
a story. And so I think that it's really fun when you walk into a space and you have a sense of who lives here. And I think that you know who lives here. You know, it really, the story is so told in this place because of all of the things and the art. And I think that's what it is. I think a home is a reflection of who lives there. And one thing that's been so beautiful about this place is a home is you're able to curate your own perspective.
Yeah.
And so for me, this place is filled with things that I love and people that I love. And so it reminds me of who I am.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, beautifully said, yeah. I think some of the best homes I do, and even my own home, you see me when you walk in, and I see you when I walk in here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thanks so much for coming, Homeworthy. We enjoyed it.
And now it is time for you guys to leave. Bye.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Blake.
I'm Nate, and welcome to our home in Birmingham, Alabama.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Nate Pressock. I am an interior designer here in Birmingham. I own a small shop that specializes in found objects, antiques, and I also work on residential projects ranging from full construction to furnishing the smallest of rooms.
My name is Blake Cochran. I'm a nurse anesthetist at a local hospital here. So I don't do anything that's in interiors. I just happen to marry into it.
Our house is a good mix of modern finds as well as antique and found objects. I love the mix of, anything that has character, patina, or just speaks to me in any way. I think it makes a more curated and collected space, which I think is important in design and showing who you are as a person. I think that's really important in your home is, the coziness and the warmth that people feel when they walk into your home. And I think our house is the best example of that. The best example of us, honestly. Blake and I started dating in 2021. And then in 2022, he decided that he was ready to buy a house. I actually already owned a house, but we had not dated long enough for me to have a say.
I was, just trying to find something in the area. We had just started dating. We weren't married. We hadn't really talked about marriage or anything yet. He'd already owned a house. I was living in an apartment in the area, and then was house shopping. Finally, it was taking forever. It was a terrible time. Found this house and just immediately bought it, no questions asked. And so we just kind of ended up here.
We love it. I mean, it's a great little house, and we've gone through to add touches that we love and make it our home. And that's hard in a newer build that necessarily doesn't have character. So you kind of have to create character, and I think we've done the best job that we can in that without overdoing it, I would say.
And I feel like things are, there's always things that we want to do, things that we haven't done yet. Definitely with Nathan, everything is kind of evolving. One day he wants to do this, the next day he wants to do that. So we're just kind of all over the place, all the time.
Welcome to our entryway. This is one of my favorite vignettes in the house, simply because this is the first thing you're going to see. This is a favorite piece of mine. You will see that throughout the house that there's a ton of favorite pieces of mine. This is one that Blake and I worked on together. It is a old record player, and we got it at an estate sale. Unfortunately, whoever did have it before us did rip everything out of it, so it was not usable or fixable. So we got this stone top cut for it, which I think adds so much character and depth to it. It's such a good piece. I just love lamps. You will see that I have tons of lamps throughout the house, and this was a thrift find, which I don't find shame in saying. It is a vintage visual comfort lamp, which most people in the design field will know Visual Comfort is one of the top lighting designers in the country. It's one of my favorite things. So finding this lamp was amazing. I was so excited. And so it got pride of place in the entryway. I always think that Should also set the tone for your house. I love books. I love the Votiva red currant candle. I love the greenery. I just wanted it to be a mix of everything we love. And I love the modern piece of art. That was a gift from a dear friend. And obviously a mirror so I can look at myself before I leave.
I literally saw this on an estate sale website and knew in that moment, because we had been looking for an entryway table for probably 2 or 3 months.
It was a while.
And I was like, okay, I think that's finally it.
And it was painstakingly bleached by yours truly.
Yeah. That was another project that we took on.
It turned out amazing though, and I could not be happier with it, and I'm so thankful that it did.
All right, and then in flowing off the entryway, we go into our dining room, which is side by side.
We do not eat in here a whole lot. This was also a antique store thrift find. I thought it was beautiful, a traveler's table. It was the most horrendous color I'd ever seen in my whole life. It was painstakingly, once again, bleached and stained to match what I loved. And then our splurge were these chairs, which they will probably be somehow buried with us because I love them so much. They're so great. And then a rug that I sourced for the shop that somehow managed to trickle its way in here. But I love it, so it's fine. This piece is one of my favorite pieces. A friend of mine and I built the frame, and then I made this cover for it because I had a huge wall in my first house out of college and obviously could not afford a $5,000 piece of furniture to go on that wall. So I thought, let's just build it the cheapest way possible. And it's still here today because I love it so much. So that is that. And then the next thing that I love so much are these egg prints. I got these at an antique market in Atlanta, Scott's. Found the frames, got the mats cut, and I framed them myself. And it's probably one of our favorite pieces throughout the house too. I just love how much character they add to our dining room.
Yeah, I will say, going back to the chairs, like we've talked about earlier, it's very rare that we agree on something. So when we do, we like immediately buy it. So we were on a trip to Texas where we just happened to pop in this little store. They had these chairs here. They were in a different color, but of course Nate had an account with the company that makes these chairs, and we came home and immediately ordered them because I had had the dining table forever. And like I talked about earlier, I was ready to get chairs. I had been trying to find some. He kept telling me no. So when we finally found these and agreed on these as soon as we got back from Texas, I was like, log on there and order these chairs right this moment.
And I did. And they got here. I was having dinner club in this very room 2 days later, and I thought, let's paint it. So Blake and I stayed up late one night painting it, and I just wanted something that just packed a punch because everything was kind of tan in here, and I thought this will be a good moment to bring some kind of contrast into this room. And it has the biggest window in the house, and I thought, oh, the sunlight shines through here 90% of the day. It'll never feel dark. And it doesn't. It looks beautiful morning to night. I love it so much. It's so moody. Don't know that word's probably ever used, but it really is, and I'm obsessed with it. A friend of mine, a really dear friend of mine who I love so much, her and I, for Christmas every year, we tend to exchange a coffee table book. That's something we bonded over when we first became friends. So a lot of these are from her, the Chanel, the Grey Malin, this Vogue, the Wild Interiors. And so those are kind of sentimental to me. Blake and I found this on we actually eloped. And so our big honeymoon was a year later, this past fall. But right after we got married, we went to the mountains. And of course, I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to go on a sourcing trip. So we stopped at this little hole-in-the-wall antique store, somewhere in the mountains. And I love anything with like tiger oak, burl wood. And I got this box on a steel, and it actually was supposed to go to my shop, and I just fell in love with the size of it, and it has been here ever since. It's just made its way around the house, and so I love it, and it's sentimental. We filmed that print at the coast with on one of our trips to see family, and the rest of the pieces Blake made that horn
on the acrylic block. Every year we do the world's longest yard sale too that goes from Alabama to
Ohio.
And while we were on that trip, we found like a pretty big grouping of those horns. And so when we got back home, I was like, I think I want to try to glue it to an acrylic block. And so glued it on there.
Yeah, so I love it. I would probably best describe my style as grandpa chic. As funny as that is, but I think it's fitting. I love old things, but I think when you mix it with other things, it makes it have a whole new life. And so I think my style is a perfect mix of something that you would never say, oh, I needed to put that there. And, oh, well, that makes total sense. And then it all works together, which I think is a huge part of design, is making things work together that don't necessarily mesh when they're apart. But when you put them all together, it's like, oh, that works really good. So I think my style is just a good mix of like the modern, the traditional, the antique, the new, the home goods, the thrift store, the antique mall. You know, it just, I think it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other.
With my style and my influence, I'm the type of person who's all about making things super, super easy. So I really gave Nathan a challenge when we moved in with each other, because I'm just gonna walk in the store. When I want something done, I want it done right that moment. I'm not patient. I'm gonna walk in there. If I need something, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna bring it home, whether it fits, whether it doesn't fit. So literally when we moved into this house, he made me take everything out into our driveway, and then we had all of his stuff there, and then we had to like completely remove into our whole house. But I will say it was a little bit easier because we do have like a very similar like color palette. So everything was kind of meshed well as far as like colors and textures and stuff go. But as far as the style of furniture and stuff, it was really gave him
I would think the best, Blake is very showroom ready. Like he would love to just, and I think a lot of people are that way. They like to just do it and have it done, and that's what they're gonna do, and I love that. But then I like to add in those personal touches, which not saying Blake doesn't. Blake would just rather it all be done in one day without a single tape measure, which was I'm like, for the first 6 months I was like, did you measure? He's like, and I'm just like, okay, well, I hope it fits.
I measured it when I looked at it and I thought it would fit.
Yeah. He kind of let it slip that he knows how to do a lot of stuff, and if he doesn't, he's gonna learn. If he wanted to, he would, and Blake is the perfect example of that, that if he knows I want something or want something done, he's gonna figure it out. So, I mean, I kid you not, there's like a multitude of projects throughout this house that he has literally built from scratch. Like changes all my light fixtures. So I bought this at an antique market and he had to completely rewire it and hang it, and that was almost the end of our marriage, but here we are, and it's sitting under it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about me is I love a good hobby, I love a good project, and he knows that, and he will definitely use it. I don't like not knowing how to do stuff, so if he says that he wants something done, I will figure out how to get it done.
Which is nice, because then I don't have to pay for it.
But I will say it sometimes is a hindrance, and the reason we get into arguments is because I want it to be perfect, and he's like, can you just get it done, please?
Yeah.
So there we go.
All right, now we head into the kitchen bar area. This is an area that Blake spends a lot of his time, not in the bar, in the coffee side. We do partake in a little cocktail after work on occasion, or a glass of wine. But one thing you will always see in this house is this right here. Cannot live without it. We're gonna have a crushed ice machine everywhere we go. I actually took it to the lake with us this past 4th of July because I couldn't go without it. So, the funny story about this, and Blake can carry on after I tell the story, there used to be cabinets here that just carried from here all the way over. Mm-hmm. And that just was not doing it for me. It was not exciting enough. So, it's very rare that we're not somewhere in tandem, but the one day that he had something to do that I did not, I ripped the cabinets down. And when he came home, I was like, hey, I took those cabinets down. Can you build me some shelves? And then the very next weekend, I actually had somewhere to go without him. And he built these beautiful shelves for me. Because I wanted to show up all of our glassware. We love glassware. We have, Waterford.
Waterford labels.
Waterford, some finds, like we found these brandy glasses. And then we love a specific kind of wine glass. And it's just something that we have bonded over, and we love collecting glassware. There's tons, ample more throughout this house that we've hidden somewhere. But alas, it all cannot be put out. So we did our best.
But yeah, so I was actually helping host a baby shower for one of my friends. And he had been saying forever that he wanted me to build shelves here. I was like, oh, let's just wait a little bit longer. Came home from the baby shower, the shelves were in the floor. So I was like, well, I guess this project is getting pushed way further ahead than I thought it was. But
it was worth it. They look great. So then going into the kitchen, this is Blake's domain.
The kitchen is one of the areas that we would love to, add our personality to. We just haven't made it there yet. Focused on other areas of the house at the moment, but it serves its purpose. There's a lot of counter space here. I would say throughout the year, since I do love to cook and whatnot, I do always love to grow fresh herbs and stuff. So we always have that, kind of sitting around or whatnot here. We always have fresh fruit because we love fruit, or if we want to make a cocktail or something, it's great to have some fresh citrus.
And I will say one little design spin that I put on this room, because I don't mind a dark cabinet. I know they get a bad rap, but I like them. I think they're beautiful. And then whoever owned the house before us with this marble backsplash in, I think it's gorgeous. And I also don't mind granite. Would I pick this one? No. But one thing that you can do, and it's like the jewelry of your cabinet, would be your hardware. I fell in love with this Rejuvenation. Most people know what I'm talking about, the Rejuvenation gumball knob. And they're not very cost effective. And I just could not bring myself to do it. Well, being the Facebook Marketplace stalker that I am, this lady literally posted this garbage sack full of this solid brass gumball. Literally looks just like Rejuvenation. She had, I'm not kidding y'all, we had literally the exact amount for this whole kitchen. And I paid $20 for it.
It worked out perfect. Now, we met her in the middle of nowhere.
We did.
Could not find my way back there.
We could not.
Nathan's been kind of working on like a collection of his, I guess you would say, fruit cheese art. But the top art piece is a lady that we actually met in Mississippi. And so he bought that from her after we met her, and then the second one is a print from somebody out of Nashville that I snuck away from him after he got it and had it framed for him.
Which I love.
And so we're just kind of working on that.
Yes, I love that piece. I actually fell in love with it at an art show. Most people, for some reason, give me grief about it because they don't like it, but I think it's so much fun. I love it. And I actually messaged her after meeting her mom at an art show she actually wasn't at. And I was like, I'm so in love with that piece. I really hope it's still available. Can you please ship it to me? And she did, and I love it so much. I think it's so fun. I started a Christmas decorating company. It was not a company when it started. It's probably not even still considered a company now. But last year I had like 40 clients, and I go into homes and decorate them for Christmas, the holidays, get them ready. So that was my first like dipping my toe into the design world, and I was like, I love this. Well, just as anybody does, you go to college and you're like, okay, I really need to do something that I know there's going to be job security. So I actually my major was nursing at Auburn here in Alabama. And I didn't dislike it. It was just like I didn't have any passion about it. Well, I was involved, and I started talking to this girl in the involvement suite at Auburn. And I was more interested in her major than mine. She was talking about, she was doing interior design projects, and I found myself more enthralled by what she was doing than what I had going on. And just like any kid, you think your parents are going to be disappointed because they want you to go. It was just like it was a surefire win that you were going to have a job, you were going to make a lot of money if that's what you did. And I called them one day and I was like, this is what I want to do. And they both literally got on the phone and they were like, well, that's all we want for you is to be happy, so you need to go do that right now. So I literally, and at Auburn, it may not be the same now, but when I changed my major in 2016, you still had to go get your transcript from the college that you were in to the College of Nursing, and you had to walk it, like you had your whole life in your hands, to the college that you were going to. And it was just the most surreal feeling going from there to the dean at that school and handing the stuff and being like, I want to enroll in interior design, and that's what I want to do. And then I never looked back. And then I got into the program, and the rest is history. All right, so off of our kitchen, we have the pleasure of having our living room attached to our kitchen, so a little bit open floor plan, which is really nice when you're hosting. This piece is a piece that was fought for. I had an idea, a vision. Blake had the means, and so it was probably, let's just say like beginning of summer, we found this huge chest, and I knew it would fit perfect here. And it took a lot of work. It still has some nicks, which I don't think is a big deal. We replaced the hardware, bleached it, restained it. And then a few weeks later, we found this. It was a beautiful cabinet. I got Blake to build the most perfect shelves in it to hold all of our amazing glassware and pottery collections and things of that nature. And it's a piece that no one else has, which I love so much because it makes it unique. Blake may have a different story about that journey because he did do all of it, but it looks absolutely stunning and I'm so in love with it.
Yeah, I will say stripping that piece of furniture was probably the hardest thing that we've had to strip in the house. But yeah, being from Mississippi, I do collect Mississippi pottery. Anybody from Mississippi will totally get it. And so I kind of wanted somewhere to like display it, and we had been talking about it back and forth for a while, and this is where we landed.
This piece is one near and dear to my heart. And just in the last 2 weeks, Blake actually learned how to sew.
I did.
And this was one of my brain children that I came up with, or, you know, an idea. And I was like, I really want to make that happen. And he made this gorgeous box pleated skirt that we put around the side, put around the edge of it, just to break up some of the leg and the furniture in this room. And I think it's literally so perfect. I found this fabric at an antique mall here in Birmingham. And it just adds that little bit of grandpa chic flair that we needed in this room, and I think it could not have turned out better. He may also have a different story on that because he did have to learn a whole new skill this week to do that for me.
Yeah, I will say I was super nervous because I've never sewed anything or sewn anything prior. So I was super nervous because I was like, I'm fixing to cut all this fabric up and probably ruin it. And then it's so pretty, and we found it for such a good deal. But it actually, I told him when I got through, I was like, I'm pretty sure that somebody like possessed my body and then sewed it, because I don't think that I could do that twice. I was like, it just kind of came out great, and we're just going to kind of roll with it, because I have no idea how I just did that.
And I love it. It's so good.
There was a lady that told us that, because he posted it on TikTok, there was a lady that said that we needed to starch the pleats out. I definitely see that we do need to starch them out, but once I was through with it, I was like, you know what, we're done with it. It's just going to stay like that until we move, and then when we move, we can starch them out, because I'm not taking it back off there.
And a sucker for a good coffee table book, and it seems to be a go-to gift for when people find out I love them. That's what I tend to get, and I don't complain at all because they're like literally one of my favorite things in the house. This, I would call it a bowl. I don't even know, a footed trough. It's Aiden Gray was a gift. I love it. Statues were also a gift from the same person. I think they're just the nice touch of modern that I love to bring in to my spaces. And Jackie, thank you, love you so much.
And then, of course, always the Votiva candle. If you haven't noticed, he's going to have one of those on every single table.
I love them. They're so good. Living room is probably my favorite room in the house. So I try to focus a lot of my energy in here and a lot of my favorite pieces. I'm a firm believer in pride of place. If it's something I love to look at, I want to look at it as much as possible. So starting with this chest was a Facebook Marketplace find a couple of years ago. It was free, actually, which I think is insane. And really, this is like the only wall in the house that it would fit. It was too deep for the entry, and we tried it multiple other places, and it just did not work. But it was not leaving. So it stayed here, and it's also the only piece of furniture in the house that holds that Magdaddy lamp, which I'm obsessed with. This is a find actually found by Blake. We got this at a local store here in Gardendale, actually. And it's so good. I love the frame, the subject matter. It's kind of gruesome if you look at it too much. But I just love it. I think it's such a good piece.
I know when I found it, I was obsessed with it because I was like, that's definitely both of our like color palettes, and I grabbed it and ran because it was such a good deal.
We love an orchid. I love a candlestick. I love Susan Gordon pottery. She's local to Birmingham. Always have a book. It's one of my favorite vignettes in the house. A coffee table, in my opinion, is one of your best places for a conversation starter when you're hosting. So I love to have, things that you can easily talk about. I always have a pile of matchbooks from our travels. These are kind of running a little low. They're not any good ones, so don't look too closely. And then gifts from friends. You get Peter's pottery, things that we collect, and then, so I think it really tells a story, and we always have a candle going. I bought this light at an antique market in Atlanta. It actually did not, I actually owned it probably a year or two prior to it ever being hung up anywhere because I thought it needed to be somewhere perfect, and this was perfect. So then I found out that it had to be completely rewired and re-hardwared. So then Blake did not enjoy that.
Yeah, he just said that he bought a light at Scott's, but it was actually he bought a shade. So we had to turn it into a light, which was not fun, but it made it up there. So
it did, and it's such a good. I think it's such a good piece. These pine columns are our newest addition. I found them at once again, Facebook Marketplace. I sound like a broken record. They moved from out of state. They didn't fit in their new house, so I snatched them up, and they are such a statement piece, and they hold those ginger jars so well, and I think they're so good. I love them. And then, of course, continue with the vignettes. You have your huge candles. You have a mix of, modern with the hand bowl, the modern coffee table books. I love a boxwood ball. I learned that in college from one of my friends. She loves a boxwood ball too, so that's something I love to have around. As unpractical as they are, the sofa pillows, I love them. You cannot lay your head on them to save your life, but they look good, and that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So there was actually an antique mall in Gardendale that closed a couple years ago, and they were literally selling everything, I'm pretty sure, for $1. And I walked through, and I was like, I have to have that chair, and she was like, it's $1. So it has followed me around everywhere. Blake hated it at first. He wouldn't admit it.
I did. I did not like it.
But I just love the pop of color. It adds, it's like that rule, like you need just one pop of color somewhere in your room to make it interesting. And I think that is mine, and I love it. And it'll probably haunt me for the rest of our days.
Yeah, I feel like probably what I should have added to my design style earlier is that I'm also super, super practical. And I feel like when you sit in this chair, you have to sit perfect and like hold your breath. You can't breathe. So I'm like, what is this chair really doing for us here?
It's pretty.
But it is very pretty. I've grown to having an attachment to it. I love it.
It's pretty. And that's all that matters. I would think that also is another really staple favorite piece of mine that we found is this camel stool. It is like the most beautiful piece in this room, and it's so low that I hate people can't see it, but it has brass detailing, and it has the original leather seat on it, and it's the perfect ottoman. That's not the purpose of it, but it's so good looking. I love it so much.
And that also has a crazy story behind that too. So yeah, I don't know if you'd really been looking for one, but you had talked about it kind of, or maybe we went into like an antique mall and we found one there. And then he got that, and then we talked about like how rare of a find that was, and how crazy that we actually found it. Went to another antique mall, found another one that y'all will see later in our bedroom. But like, what are the odds of you finding two back to back?
And they were so inexpensive, so
yes,
that was a plus.
And they were great.
And in the hallway, we have one of our newest pieces that literally took my breath away. It's giving Hermes horse vibes, which I love, and I love the orange. If you can't tell, I love larger scale things. And So while most people wouldn't think something almost as tall as me would fit in this hallway, I made it work, and I love it, and it's going to stay there because it is a stunning piece. I think it's such a good addition to this hallway. It adds some interest with the rug and the coloring. I think it's so great.
Yeah, so earlier when we were talking about when he was saying to buy stuff that you love, that you just have a connection with, and I said you'll see something later that, that test to that. This is what that is, because we were literally in Home Goods and we were like, I was on my own doing my own thing there, and then all of a sudden I just hear him like screaming my name out, and I'm like, is he okay? I get over there and he's like, has somebody already back there toting this to the front of the store? I'm just like, what did you just buy?
And a Home Goods find is a find that you can't turn down because it won't be there the next time you go look for it. And we grabbed it.
We did.
And off the living room is our powder bath. We were lucky enough to have one, and I wanted to make it a moment. So one weekend while I was gone, Blake surprised me by painting it, and I love this color. He color drenched the space, the doors, everything. And then I ordered this console sink, which I just love so much. And my mother-in-law actually found these on the coast. They're Regina Andrew, and she was like, these look like so much of your style, and she bought them for us, and they are such a great addition in here. So I'm sure you're probably wondering, what is up with the art in here? I had this vision that I wanted my powder bath to make people be like, why are these people looking at me use the bathroom? And that just spiraled from there. So every time we would come across a portrait, something with a human as the main focus, I bought it. And it probably took a good year for us to really hone in on the collection. She is probably my favorite. We got her at Scott's Antiques in Atlanta, and her husband is actually hanging in Ponce City Market in one of the restaurants. I don't know which one, but I just think that it's so cool that we know where the husband is. And then a lot of them are from just different finds. This is our newest one. It was actually given to me. So I actually just liked her leaned. So then you can look straight into her eyes as you use the bathroom, which makes me chuckle. It makes other people uncomfortable, but I think it's hilarious. But it just, I think it's such a fun room, and it makes people question, and that's what I love about it.
So we met through a friend that I made when I moved here, because I'm not originally from here. She had been trying to set us up for a while, but it was either he was dating somebody or I was dating somebody. But then it finally worked out to where we were both single, and he always says that I slid into his DMs.
He did. There's no, he didn't. He did.
But
no. The funny part is, it's literally about the house.
That's what I was gonna say. So it was when I was shopping for the house. I was trying to find a real estate agent, so I reached out to him to ask who he had used.
He already had a real estate agent.
But yeah, so she kind of brought our attention to each other, and then it finally worked out to where we were able to go on our first date.
And I knew her. I knew Alexandra because her parents and my parents are really good friends, and funny enough, she is actually my parents' next door neighbor. So we saw each other all the time, and never even knew that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Blake was at their house next door to us, when I was still living there, and it was it's just weird. Invisible string theory, for real.
Yeah, but then we literally went on our first date, and I don't think we've legit spent a day apart since.
He didn't leave me alone.
Alrighty, so next we're gonna head up to our primary bedroom, which has one of my favorite little nooks in the whole house, so follow us.
Welcome to our primary. This is probably one of Blake's favorite places in the house.
It is.
So I'll let him tell you a little bit about, one of his favorite areas. And
all right. So I had this idea that I wanted to somehow like show house. Basically, it's like a shrine to us, which is terrible. But we travel a lot. We have like a lot of we get together a lot with family and whatnot. So I wanted a way to kind of like show off our pictures. So I had this idea that I wanted to start buying just like random frames that like I like fell in love with, or I thought that were like really really cool, or like had like a cool mat in them or whatnot there. So I kind of just started the frame collection and then printed all the pictures out later, and then decided that I kind of wanted to hang them in the corner and just like let them like run. So this is how far we've grown. I want it to keep growing. I think Nathan is kind of like, we're kind of good there. But we shall see. I would love it to keep growing though.
So Blake's done a really good job of like showcasing who we are. You know, we love to travel. London, everyone loves to go to the beach. We have our niece, our little nephew, our other niece, my sister, Blake's grandfather, his family. And then, you know, when we got married, engaged, it just kind of showcases our life, and I think that's really important. And I think it's really sweet that that's something that we have in our bedroom, and I love it. It was a good design choice by Blake.
Yeah, I love my little corner here, which to segue into my corner. One of the things too in this corner, so when we started dating and went on into marriage and stuff, Nathan would always talk about how he was obsessed with like custom column lamps, and he always wanted some. So last year on World's Longest Yard Sale, we finally found some columns that we thought were the right size to actually be a lamp as well. When we got them, they were painted white, so we of course brought them home once again, stripped everything off them like usual, and then went about ordering all the lamp parts, all the hardware and everything, and made him his lamp columns.
Which I love them.
We have two.
Yeah, the other one is separated, but
it is.
She's close. One of my favorite design things that I did in this bedroom is this bench. I don't know if anyone has tried to find a bench that, for scale wise, would fit in front of a king bed, but it's really difficult unless you want to spend an exorbitant amount of money. So what I did was I found their benches from Target underneath actually, and I had my seamstress make a cover for it out of a fabric that I am completely obsessed with. And I just think it's a great use of pattern and texture in this bedroom on top of this rug. And with our bedding, I think it just adds a little bit of flair in here, and I think it turned out beautifully. Moving to our bed, most people don't understand this, when you go somewhere to a hotel or something and you have so much stuff that it does not fit on your bedside table. So I wanted to have enough room to have my pretty stuff, but also when I come to bed with my snack, my Stanley cup, everything that seems to accumulate on your nightstand, I wanted to have room for it too, as well as my ginormous lamps. So we found these gorgeous nightstands, and they're a great addition to this room, and they match the scale perfectly. Blake and I needlepoint and read, and so I don't read, Blake reads, and so we have these little sconces that I think are a great addition too for some extra lighting. For those hobbies, I love a bed that is cozy. It has lots of layers. It's heavy. It just like takes you in. So we have tons of comforters and quilts and everything on this bed, and it's so cozy. And actually, Blake's family for one of our wedding gifts bought us this bed. It was something that I'd wanted for a while, and we were lucky enough to get it in the mail from his family, and I was so excited about it.
I'll also say that's something that I'm very picky over too. Me being a very tall person, I don't like a bed that's super, super low. So the bed that we had prior, it was a headboard that I had actually made, and then had just gotten like a really tall frame. So when we had talked about getting a new bed, I was like, okay, we can do that as long as we find one that's really tall, because I hate having to like bend down really, really low to get in bed. So when we found this bed, it was absolutely perfect because it is very tall and it works out great.
It is, and I love it. It's so cozy. So this little area, I used to actually have a desk here, but the desk has since been moved to another location, as one does. And so I have this little demi-lane table here, and I kind of have like my jewelry box and stuff like that. So I don't have like a place per se to get ready, but I do pull one of these chairs over and I sit usually on FaceTime with my friends in the morning times and get ready for the day, put on my bracelets and rings, and just get ready for what I have going on that day. And so, not necessarily practical, but it works.
Alrighty, so right off of our primary bedroom, right when you come to the top of the stairs, we have like this kind of like reading nook area here. This is one that I was talking about earlier that I've kind of gotten to have some say in, which is really fun for me. But yeah, so the tennis influences in here, as you can see. We have our rackets on the wall, our vintage tennis rackets. And then we have our little Ralph Lauren tennis pillows in the chairs, and this is where all of my furniture came as well. So this is where my stuff that was downstairs prior to Nate moving in just kind of mingled its way up here. But I love everything up here. It's kind of like my little area.
I think coffee tables are a good conversation starter. So, Blake loves a painted duck. He made it his last mission to find a really good painted wood duck, and so he found that one. I think it's a great addition. This was a souvenir from one of my parents' trips, and I have somehow inherited it. And then one of my favorite is this big horn magnifying glass. It was such a fun find, and so that has made its way onto this coffee table as well. And then this chest, multiple people have tried to buy this chest off of me, and it will never ever leave our home because it was such a good find, and love the color and the style. It's such I love it so much. These were a gift from a friend of mine, and I had them framed, and they now hang up here in our reading nook. And we had an electrician come and install these, and just as a art light per se. But yeah, we love this room. It's so cozy at night with the lamps and it just being a little more quaint. But we love it, and it is a good addition to this home. All right, let's now head to our guest bedroom. Welcome to our guest room. This is somewhere that I want our guests, to feel very comfortable at home, like they're in a hotel, and they're so cozy and they have everything they need. I actually inherited these from someone, and this actually used to be my primary bedroom, and it has now become our guest bedroom because it's just that good. We had a ton of these panels, and there's actually obviously no window behind this, but we wanted to drape the whole wall with all this, just to give it that, that really cozy feeling. We have a little makeup mirror for, if anybody wants to come and do their makeup when they come visit, Blake's mom, my friends, all the things. Mm-hmm. And then over here we just have a vignette of some of our favorite things. I love a Burlwood box, golden retriever print, because we have a golden retriever, a little modern touch, and then some of our finds.
Yep. I would say this was one of those things where we woke up on a Saturday morning. I thought we were just going to hang out, have a chill day. And then all of a sudden, Nathan is in here with all the draperies and all the curtain rods. And he's like, hey, can you come and put all these up for me? And I'm like, okay, sure. Why not?
But I love a hotel bed, or a hotel feeling bed. And I have been told by multiple sources that this bed is more comfortable than the bed they sleep in at their own house. And I stand by that.
And then of course, when we find one thing, we always find multiple. So on the side table over here, we also have another hand-painted duck that I happened to find, which was amazing.
Yes, I love it. So if you want to come stay, just give us a ring. I would say home is a culmination. We actually had this conversation there was this influencer that I was following, and I know I keep making a long story long, but there was this influencer, and she was gone from home for a month, and I literally looked at Blake and I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I was like, I love my bed, I love our house, I love, everything about it. And he was like, well, and I may embellish, he was like, if I have you and the dogs, I would be, because we have dogs, he was like, I would be perfectly fine. And I think I see that to a point, but I think home means where you're most comfortable, and I love being here, and I think it does make it obviously better. I don't feel as comfortable when Blake is not here, and the dogs and everything else. So I would just say where peace, your people, your comfort, and everything kind of coincides perfectly together, that could be anywhere. but I think for me, it is actually my home. So I think, yeah, but I think for some people it could be wherever your spouse is, or wherever your dog is, or wherever your parents are, or wherever your sister is. I think it can go, I think it's different for everybody. And I think for me, it's this house with everyone that I love in it.
Yeah, I would say home for me, for some people it's like a collection of things. For me, it's a collection of family. So I think home for me is Nathan, and we have 4 dogs, which is chaos most of the time. But I love coming home from work in the afternoons and seeing the 4 dogs, and then we're sitting here waiting on Nathan whenever he gets home, and it's just the people, family, the pets and stuff are all kind of what makes home to me.
Okay, Homeworthy, thank you so much for stopping by. We loved having you. I mean, Blake has a lot of projects to get to, so we'll see you later.
Thanks, y'all.
Today on Homeworthy, we're visiting the Birmingham home of interior designer Beth Hubrick, founder of the vintage decor business Mary and Wilma. Originally from Florida, Beth has infused her Alabama residence with an array of coastal furnishings and charming antiques that bring in a lighthearted and welcoming feel. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. By clicking the join button below, you not only support the production of these videos, you also gain access to exclusive content just for members. And today, our members will get a look inside Beth's curated and whimsical powder bath and laundry room, both featuring walls she painted herself. Join today to see more of the homes you love.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Beth Hubrick. Welcome to my home in Birmingham, Alabama. So here we are in the dining room, and originally for probably several years we did not use this as a dining room. Our dining room was kind of flip-flopped in another room of the house, but for some reason I just wasn't happy with where the dining room was and where the table was, and we never used it. Just sat there unused. And I'm such a big proponent of living in your spaces, loving your spaces, and using them and enjoying them. And I flip-flopped this table and put it in, which I guess really could be considered the foyer because it is the first room that you walk into. But I love it out here, and it's so great because we have this wonderful porch on the front of our house, and when it's nice and the weather is wonderful, we can open up the doors and people can walk through, and so it's so nice to have this option. And my kids kind of told me, said they would never sit here, they would never sit at the table, they would never use it once I flip-flop it. And this is where we do everything. We eat here, they do homework here, they hang out here. It really has been such a great space for us. I am from Florida originally, and so I love art and all things Floridian, and so that's why you'll see here, everything here is, pretty coastal. Some really special paintings. This is actually a rubbing, and my parents actually got this picture, and I kind of stole it from them. It hung in our house for a long time, and I've always loved it, but they're actually mahi-mahi fish, and when they come out of the water, there are these beautiful blues and greens and yellows. And so the only thing that is painted here is the eye. So I love this. And then my other favorite piece is this watercolor. Also, I stole it from my parents. But it just reminds me of the kind of Florida that I grew up in, just really pretty deserted and desolate, and just the beautiful seagrass and the oats and everything. So I've tried to fill our home with things that feel like us and remind me of home. The rug actually came from, it's kind of funny, I was actually in a little vintage and antique store in Anniston, Alabama, which is where my mother is from, and I saw it and I loved it. I thought the colors were so great. And the woman there has told me that it actually came from an estate sale in Birmingham. And so I feel like it kind of, came back home. And I love pinks and greens and blues. I mean, really, I think I'm just inspired by the ocean and Floridian sunsets. And so I think I kind of naturally gravitate towards those. The chairs, actually, I found on Facebook Marketplace.
And while we were renovating the house, I kind of convinced my husband. I was like, hey, let's get out of town. Let's just go somewhere close by, and we'll take the kids, and like we'll swim and do some fun things. And there's a great little hotel in Auburn. And on the way there, I told him, I was like, hey, just give me 1 second. We got to stop off at this exit, and I'm going to meet a woman and get some chairs. And these were the chairs, and my husband was literally like, oh my gosh, they're terrible. And they were in terrible shape, but I had them recovered in this beautiful Italian velvet, and we love them. Again, I mean, I love the bamboo feeling, and so I definitely probably always lean towards those Floridian roots. This is, I love this brass piece. It's a piece my mother gave me. I mean, a lot of times you'll see people put, firewood and things like that in it, but I love repurposing, beautiful vintage pieces and using them in different ways. I would love to say that I throw dinner parties at a moment's notice. I wish that I was that talented, but, I think really it's more like friends and family. And, really, I would say, I think just, a casual lifestyle. We kind of open up the doors when the weather is nice, and maybe even watch football on the front porch, and just might have, chips and dip out there, and people kind of going back and forth. What I love about this space is that it's so open to our other living space, and so I think it feels, when we have friends and family over, it feels so conversational, because we can kind of be in both spaces at once. People can be eating, people can be lounging, reading. I think that's kind of the beauty of these two spaces working together. And, the area that we live in Birmingham is kind of known for having, smaller houses. And so you really have to make the most of your square footage. And we've tried to maximize all of it, and just to make it so that it's just a really functional and inviting space for us too. In our dining area, we painted this. It's actually, everyone's always like so surprised to learn, and we painted it in our other living space as well, but it's actually called Newburgh Green, but it reads very, very blue. And again, I think when we renovated this house, the house is about, oh gosh, it's over 100 years old. I wanted to be true to the house and honor its past, but also bring in, some color and make it feel, I guess for me, kind of like my Floridian roots. And I love blues and greens. And this, you would think that this dark color, I think sometimes people think, oh gosh, it's gonna make the room feel so dark, but it's really so open that when you think about the walls and how they're painted, there's actually not that much wall, because there's windows and doors and cased openings and things like that. And so I think it lends itself really well to all the natural light that we get in here. This lamp is kind of a fun find, actually, off of Facebook Marketplace. I kind of drag things home all the time from Facebook Marketplace that my family is kind of like, what is that? But I love it. I love this lamp. I mean, it's just unusual. I think it's fun. Of course, I gravitate towards these like terracotta kind of pinky colors. A really dear friend of mine actually custom made the lamp shade for me, which is, she's so talented. And so that was really fun. I had this fabric from Downing's, and it was just, I was like, why not? This space is kind of weird. We've thought about putting in like bookshelves at one point. I don't know, maybe we will, but I just thought, it's always great to have more lighting. And so we went with this one here. So this is just kind of like our little console area. I think, design can be so much fun. And so I love having my little statue lady here with her fun. Sometimes I change it out during the holidays and give her crazy hair and things like that. But I found this mirror at an estate sale and kind of just fell in love with the beautiful color. I love it against the red. And then I've just really surrounded this area with, lots of artwork that I love. My mom has a wonderful friend who's an artist, and we've included her pieces here. You can see there's this great, it's actually a piece of wood that was carved. And if you look at it, you can see it's actually a mother holding her baby. And so my mom's friend actually carved the wood and then made the block print. And so I love having pieces that are special to me. This painting is actually, it's actually a Matisse. It really is a poster. And when I was in graduate school in Houston, Texas, didn't have a lot of money. I was actually living in a dorm for my first semester. I didn't know anybody there. And I just thought I have to have some color and I have got to have some artwork. And so I decided that I basically took the poster and kind of turned it into like a paint by number and just followed those brush strokes. And so while it's not, you know, super, I mean, again, just a poster that I painted over, I love the colors and I love colors, and you can look out the window and you're seeing the boats. And so it reminds me of Florida as well. So this is kind of our, I guess, our front living area, and it's right next to the dining room. And what I love is that, again, that it just kind of has this openness that people can be eating or maybe even playing a game at the table, but then you can be lounging and hanging out. Obviously, we've got this big chandelier with the beaded work. And I mean, again, it has that Floridian feel to it with the bamboo. And this is a great table, actually a draper's table that I got from an antiques dealer, and have just filled it with things that that I love. I actually got this sconce from an antiques dealer, from the same one I got the draper's table from. And when we were renovating the house, I only had one. I wasn't sure where it was gonna go. And I was in another a totally different antique store, totally different part of town in Alabama. And I called my mom and I said, I think I found the mate to that sconce, except it was black. And so sure enough, you know, she sent me pictures of this other sconce and I'm comparing them and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the same one. One of them was not hardwired, but the other one was. And so we basically took the black one, had someone work their magic and kind of make it match the other, and then had it hardwired. And so now we have a pair. And I mean, I cannot believe we found them in two totally different places. So I have a very kind of unusual career path. I'm actually a dietitian by training, which is so strange. And I worked in that world for several years. And then when we were renovating our home, I started finding things that I just loved, but I was like, gosh, I don't think this is going to work in our house, but it could work for somebody else. And at the same time, I was also starting to sell some of the things in my home that I knew we were not going to be able to use once we moved back in post renovation. And so what I kind of thought, I was like, gosh, like I feel like I don't really even consider myself an antiques dealer, or I really consider myself more of a matchmaker and finding funky, cool, unusual pieces that I know really deserve a second story and could live in somebody's home. I think every home obviously has a story, and I think that's what's so fun, is seeing people and how they live in their homes. And I mean, I love walking into a home and looking at all the different pieces and kind of figuring out like who this person is. And so that for me has really been so much fun in my business, Mary and Wilma. And I love to share these kind of funky, fun, unusual finds from the past. We've got some great, these are actually storage ottomans from the inside. I love them because you can, I mean, they're so great to put your feet on, and they, you know, having the storage is so key. This great pair of barrel chairs, even though they are small, and I actually love smaller chairs because it's really hard to find. And my husband, who is over 6 feet tall, he loves these chairs. You would think they're too small for him, but he thinks they're so comfortable. But I love smaller chairs because you can use them in so many different ways and in so many different places. I found this settee from another vintage dealer on Facebook Marketplace, brought it home. My kids told me that you cannot mix pink and red and green, and I am like, oh, yes, you can, for sure. This was another fun find. I have loved this lamp, and when I first polled people on my Instagram, on my Mary and Wilma business, I mean, people hated it. They were absolutely hated it, and told me that it looked like a lamp that might have been in a Holiday Inn in Las Vegas, which I actually think sounds pretty fun. But I love it. We've added this shade from Ballard Design, so I think gives it a totally different feel. And that's what was so fun, was because once we added a new shade to it, people kind of, you know, got the vision. They were like, oh, I can see it now. So I love to have, you know, different unusual things. This is an old piece that actually my mom got from a friend of my grandmother's, and I just painted it just to give it a little update. And I love the blues against the blues and kind of having that together. I mean, all of this is really a great vintage store in Tuscaloosa. I love the table because of like the fretwork and just the different lines. And of course it's bamboo, and the color, it was already this perfect shade of minty, awesome green. This sofa, so funny. I actually found this sofa on Facebook Marketplace, and I had been messaging with a woman, and then all of a sudden she kind of stopped messaging with me, and I thought, oh gosh, someone's bought it, or I've just lost it, or whatever. Anyway, she eventually got back to me, and it is in pristine condition, and she told me that her parents, she lived in Aruba, and this sofa came from Aruba. There was one nice, really nice furniture store there, and her parents bought it, I think in the 70s, and then they shipped it back to the States when they moved home. And so my kids and husband, they sometimes call this the Aruba room. But I just love it. I mean, the red detailing, I mean, all the stitching, I mean, just in pristine condition, and I just love it. It's probably one of my favorite things in the house. And I love these older like vintage sofas because they're so long and you can really, stretch out on them, which is so fun. I'm kind of a mix it all, modern, traditional, Floridian, Southern. I mean, I kind of love it all. And for me, it's really about just what I love and what feels good. I mean, I got this, I saw this pheasant at an estate sale, and I just thought he was so beautiful. I'm not a hunter. My husband's not a hunter, but I just think the colors and the feathers and the patterns are so pretty. And he was a little bit more than I wanted to pay, and so I kind of walked away from it. And then my sweet mom surprised me and gave it to me as a birthday present. And my husband said, "Your mom gave you a dead bird for a birthday present?" And I was like, "Yes, best birthday present ever." And so, I mean, here, I've got my pheasant, and then I've got this shell encrusted lamp that I actually found in North Carolina out hunting. So I love to like have a whole mix. This is a horseshoe crab. I mean, my kids and I actually found this in an area in Florida that we actually love. I mean, there were so many one time that I think lined this whole entire dock with them. And so we brought this one home. It was already dead. So no horseshoe crabs were hurt. But just, I mean, I love to fill things in our home and that feel memorable and remind us of, fun things that we have done together. I really had bought this chest originally to sell as part of Mary and Wilma. And when I got it home, my husband just absolutely fell in love with it. And so, if your husband falls in love with a piece of furniture, you can't sell it. And it really has been so fabulous. It's got great storage. And one like little trick that I love, I keep all of my linens, my napkins and everything in here, but it's perfect because I can see and mix and match, and I love to do tablescapes and things like that, and so it's really fun to have those in here. And so if I can get the drawer, there we go. This is kind of our bar area. When we renovated, this was originally kind of where the dining was, and it wasn't a great spot because it was kind of a pass-through area. And so my husband really wanted to have a bar, and so this is kind of his area. This wallpaper is from Cotton and Quill, and she's so talented, and I've always loved it. And I love, again, like the pheasants and the flowers, and so it feels, very traditional, and it kind of drove really the color scheme for our home with all the blues and the greens. But I love, I'm such a big proponent of using the things that you have. And, a lot of this glassware was my grandmother's, and I think you should not be afraid to use it. Like, what are we waiting for? Like, what are we waiting for? Bring it out, use it. I mean, you could be having just your girlfriends over and get out your favorite crystal. In the same respect, I found this set of glasses. My father had a rum and coke every Friday night that I can remember as a kid. And somehow over the years, I think we had 4 of them, they broke or we lost them or whatever. And I found a set of 4 in New Orleans, and I kind of was like, I don't know, I'm going to think about it. And of course, I went back the next day and they were gone. And so I was like, lesson learned, you love it, you should buy it. And I found these in an estate sale, and they're my favorite glasses. Like, I love them. It's what, I know they're not really right for drinking wine out of, but that is what I drink wine out of. And so they're my favorite. And then a lot of this glassware here. I mean, some is new, some's old, but the blue is from an estate sale. The amber were my grandmother's. They were Mary's because my business is named for Mary and Wilma. But I love, love, love colored glassware so much. These were her juice glasses. And so I think just like bring it out and use it and enjoy it. And that's what makes it so much fun is to, there's my glasses. I've got my napkins and linens over there. I can see what kind of mix and matches. And so hopefully, that I think can be inspiring and make you try different combinations you might not have ever tried. But this is one of our favorite. Like we love coming in from the porch and fixing a glass of wine or making a drink. And but this is a fun area for us. I love old bottles, and I just have to say that I got this shell encrusted bottle from a sweet antiques dealer. So wonderful. It's one of my favorite pieces. It's kind of probably like, if the house was on fire, I probably would take that one with me. And the other fun thing is we found this sign, "We guarantee all our workmanship." It was like in one of the kind of on the porch. It was like stuck inside of like the masonry rocks. And when we were renovating, we found it. And I was like, gosh, what a great, motto to live by is that you guarantee, your workmanship and all the things that you do. And so we kept it and kind of put it on display as just a fun reminder. This is Cotton and Quill, and she has these beautiful wallpapers and also fabrics. And so I actually kind of did this myself. Don't look too closely, but because it's definitely not perfect. But I love the idea of matching the lamps and the wallpaper. And these are just the cordless, Amazon lamps. and I just, added the shades over it. So just something kind of fun. So we're kind of moving into the kitchen area, and this is really the front two rooms, kind of the living and dining area. We really left pretty much the same when we renovated. It was this area. The space was great. We really didn't add on a ton of square footage, but what we did was kind of reconfigure things just to make it, more livable for us, but also tried to stay true to, the character of the home and whatnot. And so originally I have always, loved like really bright, airy white kitchens. And I saw a magazine article and it had black cabinets. And we decided, I was like, gosh, I think we're going to have to paint the cabinets dark. And so it's kind of this like moody green, blue. I mean, obviously it's a theme in our house, lots of blues and greens. But I love the dark cabinets. The wood, when we were renovating, we actually, over here and over on these built-ins, we actually had to do some work where we were shoring up underneath the house. And these were some of the original beams that were underneath the house. And they had to come out. And so really, fortunately for us, our builder was so smart and suggested that we, cut them and use them as countertops, which I love. I love having that piece of the home here and the fact that we could reuse those materials. This is probably, the kids, like they're always around the island. We're always around the island. This is kind of the hub of our home. And I love the built-ins over here. I mean, it's just so fun and functional because I can grab glasses if I need to. I can, get plates if I need to. But I love also bringing out, beautiful pieces and displaying those. So you'll have, I've got some old driftwood, obviously lots of flamingos and shells. But again, just I think that beauty and function can come together. And so I love, I love seeing the pieces that I love out here. But then also, it's easy for kids to come and grab a plate and make a sandwich if that's what they need to do. Most of these are from estate sales or antiques and vintage shops. I know some people might think it's totally strange to have, let's see, I'm gonna turn this around, to have like a sponge, but I love, these old like sponges. And so they're so much fun. So it's kind of strange to have a piece like this, but I love it. And it brings texture and warmth into the space. I've got, lots of glasses. I really love these little flamingos. Lots of birds. And again, all of these are really from kind of mostly estate sales and thrift stores, things like that. I found this little light at a thrift store, and there's just something about like having like a little light that when you come into your home or in the mornings or at night as you're leaving, it's just nice to have that extra little bit of light. This actually is from Amazon. I mean, I'm a big proponent of mixing, old and new. So I love having, a little bit of everything. This is a favorite Birmingham artist. I love her, and she does watercolor. And then this is actually a picture of our house when it was first built. And it really hasn't changed that much from the outside. And so I love that. So I've just, again, filled this with pieces that I love. This little banker's box that I got from a antique store. It actually has all of my recipes and things that I love in there. And so again, not its original purpose, but you can use things in a whole variety of ways. So originally, we had these pocket doors, and my plan was for this to be a pantry. And I was like, it will stay closed, we will live like this. And yeah, we didn't live like that. I mean, there's kids and we have a dog, and the doors were always open, and it was full of spices and I don't know, things you don't want to look at, or I didn't want to look at. And I actually read this article in Veranda, and it was talking about how they turned this kind of closet into a party closet. And I had this like epiphany. I was like, what am I doing? Why are the spices out? The spices can go in the drawer, the Bisquick can go in the drawers. I was like, we've got to bring out all the things. And so I brought it all out, and I love it, and so now the doors stay open, it doesn't bother me, and it's so much fun. The ceilings are so tall in here. I mean, I've got all kinds of glassware, dishes. I love dishes so much. Tablecloths are up at the top. That's why I have my ladder, because I can bring it in and out and get to things. And we even have like a little coffee station in here. The kids, there's a little refrigerator underneath here, so the kids can grab beverages, get whatever they need. And it really like does make me so happy. And again, just being able to see my plates and be like, oh wow, that would be really cool. So let's mix like these black and white ones. Let's pull in these amber glasses. Let's pull in this. So that has really been so much fun for me. This is, it's called Palladium Blue, and it's also in the bar area, and I really loved it. And when you're sitting kind of on our sofa and you're looking this way, like out towards the front of our home, it's kind of nice because you can see the Palladium Blue in the bar area and then see the Palladium Blue kind of peeking out in the party closet. But again, I'm just such a huge fan of living with what you have and what you love, and bring it out and display it. I mean, what a shame to like put away those beautiful dishes that your grandmother had that you have great memories of, or, I think this is just, I think it's so much more fun to live with the things that you enjoy. Having all these countertops really has been so nice, because it gives me not only a fun way to display things, but also gives me a lot of prep space and places to put things and things to set out and things like that. Sometimes things you maybe purchase with a client in mind sometimes become your own. I found the plan when we renovated was always to put a really beautiful painting here, and I had something here and I loved it. I loved it so much. And I found this other painting at a vintage antique store. And when I brought it home, I just kept looking at it and I thought, gosh, it just belongs up here. And so I fell in love with it. Luckily, I had not promised it to a client, so she didn't know. But the colors just felt so good, and that black feels really lovely in the painting. And so it's become a part of our home, and I love that it's so large too, and it kind of goes all the way up over the range. So this is another living area, and this is kind of the biggest part of the renovation that we did. Was my husband had always wanted a fireplace. When we moved to this area from Atlanta, my husband said he wanted a garage, he wanted a man cave, a basement, and a fireplace. And this house had none of those things. And so so when we renovated, we added in this fireplace, we added in a side entrance. So it's really nice because you can just drive up and and grab the your groceries and bring those in right into the kitchen, which is really great. And I always say that this kind of side entrance areas, I hope that people always feel so welcome that they just stroll right on in. Like I mean, I love it. There's nothing better for me than having kids and neighbors going and coming. And for me, I really want my home. Obviously, I would love for it to be beautiful, but I also want it to feel so warm and welcoming, because I mean, that's the thing for me, is I want people to walk in and just feel comfortable and be like, God, this is so fun. I want to hang out here. And so that's what I love. But this area has really been so great for us. This is where we kind of typically hang out as a family. These chairs have lived with us for a long, long time. I love them. My husband loves them. I mean, there's a few things that he's like, I love, but he loves this chair and this pair. And they actually were in my in-laws in a condo that they had purchased, and they were going to give them away. And I was like, no, we'll take them. And the reason I love them is because they're small and petite. It's very hard to find these smaller, petite chairs, and they swivel and they rock. And so I love that people can be sitting here, swivel around, have a conversation with the people in the kitchen, or if I'm cooking, my husband can be talking to me or whatever. And we just had them covered in this really fabulous flame stitch that I love so much. And again, the blues, the greens, all of it. I mean, these have been recovered multiple times. I mean, this might be their third round of fabric with us. And that's what I think is, so great about vintage pieces. They have good bones and they work, and these really do. And it's so worth it to recover and to reuse. And one of my favorite stores in Anniston, Alabama, where my mom is from, Downings, and they always have the best fabric, and I found this fabric there. Originally it was going to be drapes, and then I was like, no, they're meant to be on chairs. And so excited about these. I got these bar stools I actually found at a little vintage store in Atlanta. And originally when I found them, I mean, of course, they were actually a little bit too tall because they were bar height. They weren't counter height because they didn't do a lot of, islands and counters, 30 plus years ago. And so I actually had them cut down so they would be counter height. And originally when I saw them, I really was buying them because I thought, oh gosh, I just love the shape. I love the bamboo, the wood, so great. I thought I was going to have to recover them. And then, I love it when that happens, when it's so fortuitous. Got this fabric in here, and I was like, the greens and they're so perfect, and the pops of purples. Being able to pull that in, they just worked really well in the space. So I've loved and really enjoyed that. I do try to do a lot of lamps. I think my family even jokes with me like, how many more lamps do we need? But I actually read an article one time that it said if you want your home to look more expensive, and that's not really my goal, but and to feel kind of more up level, to use a lot of lamps and sconces as opposed to the overhead lighting. And obviously I love chandeliers and things like that, but it really does feel so cozy. And I love interesting lamps. I found this lamp at, it's kind of like a church rummage sale. The Boy Scouts have it every year. It's like my favorite weekend of the year. I think it was like $8 or something. I just love interesting lamps. I found that brass one there at the same place. I actually brought it home for my neighbor because I thought it'd be so fabulous, and she told me that it was terrible. And so, but I love it. I think it's great, and it's super heavy. It is almost like solid brass. It's so wonderful. And so yeah, I think that lamps, and that's the thing that's so fun, is sometimes I'll buy a lamp. I don't even like the lamp. I'm really buying it for the shade, because sometimes you can find really cool shades. And that's, I think, so key, is that people forget, you get a lamp. Originally when I purchased this one, it did not have this shade on it. I found this shade on Facebook Marketplace. So you can really make things feel so different just by changing out the base or the shade, and kind of giving it new life. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of lamps. And now that they sell the cordless, portable lamps, what a game changer. Those are so great. I actually got these off of Amazon. They're so fun, and I just put the shells on them, and then they can become like a little extra lighting. And you can't tell now, but it's really fun if we're here, maybe having a cocktail or something like that, to turn those on, and if it's dark and it feels kind of moody and fun. And so, yeah, I'm a fan of lots of light. I think it can sound silly to talk about lighting, but I think lighting is so key and really, makes a room feel a certain way. And so I think especially as it gets dark and then, the sun goes down, you just to have this like really kind of cool, lamp light just makes a room feel so cozy. It's like when you go into like a really great hotel and it's kind of dark, or like a really fun bar or something, and it's, feels kind of moody and fun. I think you can kind of create that in your home with lamps. I actually found this great kind of Art Deco rug on Facebook Marketplace. And I knew that y'all were coming soon, and the woman was so sweet and shipped it to me. And it's always hard because, when you look at things online, you're like, the color could be off, it could be different. And so I was like on pins and needles, like, oh, please, 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 let it be beautiful. And I fell in love with it. I mean, my kids were like, another rug? I'm always changing things out. But this one, it would be hard for me to part with this one. I've really fallen head over heels for it. And this coffee table is a favorite. It's so unusual. I think it was handmade. I got it from a sweet antiques dealer, Betty Margaret at the Nest. And it is awesome. I love the fabric and the greens. I know that it was a handmade table, that someone somewhere, put this together, and I think it's so much fun, and it's worked so well in here. It's been multiple places in my home, but it's been great in here too. It was my very first Facebook Marketplace finds ever. The person that I got it from was moving to Arizona. I think he sold it to me framed. I mean, it's such a fabulous, fabulous deal. And I guess nobody else in Alabama wanted a flamingo, so I kind of lucked out there. And then went to an estate sale, years later, and found the pelican. And I had originally planned to reframe him in a similar way as the pelican, but I kind of love that they're like sisters, not necessarily twins. They're similar, but also different and have their own kind of personality. So I think I'm gonna leave him for now. It's really it's kind of a pass-through room, but it kind of gets us to multiple places in our house. And, I love art, and I love vintage art. And I thought, well, this would be such a fun way. And I've been collecting all this vintage art, knowing that it was going in here. And my original plan, it was to put wallpaper in here. And I was like, I'm going to wait to put the vintage art up. And then I was like, gosh, what am I waiting on? This is ridiculous. And I do still plan to put wallpaper up, but when we put the wallpaper up, I'll just put all the art back up. And so it's just a fun, I just love to have, there are things that my children have made. There are things from artists in Birmingham. Really just all kinds of stuff that I just find so unusual and interesting. We spent a spring break in the Keys, and I, of course, love the Keys. And one of my favorite homes I've ever been to was Ernest Hemingway's home. And I happened to be in this kind of old, this house that was having it was a estate sale, but also, they were selling, it was a really old Alabama house, and they were selling pieces out of the house, like fixtures, like stair railings, all kinds of things. And somehow I found this picture of the Ernest Hemingway house. And I was like, that is so cool. I have loved that house, and the fact that I found it in a home in Alabama just feels like it was meant to be here and be part of this collection. This is actually an old ice maker. This is our first housewarming gift when we lived in Atlanta that my parents gave us. And you pull this top off, and the big block of ice would sit in the top. And so, it works really well here, and we've enjoyed it and had fun using it. And these are I found these green shutters from a sweet antiques dealer, Betty Margaret. And I love these green shutters. And then found these great palm sconces. Actually, a friend found them, and we drove to Montgomery to get them. And I just think they're so great. They just, again, remind me of Florida. But this is the area we call, my kids call it Central Command. And because this is where all the stuff goes. And I know it's probably not super editorial, but you know what? it's got to be fun, right? You got to have, some fun calendars, and a friend gave this to me and I love it. It kind of keeps us all on our toes. But this is where we kind of do, all the things. It's my gift closet. I keep like little gifts in here. I have wrapping paper in here. It's where I come and do my work. I have, art here that I'm saving to, put up and frame and things like that. But I have filled it, with things that I love, and I love this space so much. It is tiny but mighty, and I think one of the things that I love most is this paper mache parrot. I found it at an estate sale, kind of use him like a chandelier, and I think I love him so much because there's a place in Disney called the Tiki Room, and I can remember going there as a little girl, and we loved the Tiki Room and Pierre and all of the birds, and it sounds so silly, but whenever I look at this, I think of Disney, and I think of just, how much fun and the great memories that I made with my parents, and then now with my own children. And I love that there's actually an article that was published in InStyle magazine. It was called, I think it's called By the Parrot. And it was talking about Jane Birkin and how she found this parrot that in Paris, I think, that she just loved and like could not live without. And she talked about how much joy it brought her throughout the years in her home, and it would be in different places. And I feel that way about, things like this. That, I mean, it sounds crazy because, you're in this estate sale and you're like, oh, what am I going to do with the paper mache parrot? I mean, it's so weird. But he really does bring me so much joy. Like when I open it up, I think about just great memories, and I love having him there. And so this is kind of again, I'm a big fan of like things can be functional and beautiful. So this is like the work spot area, but it also has my sewing machine and crafts and glue guns and all the things, and a printer and everything. So I love, but it can be pretty too. Yeah, I never map anything out. It makes my husband crazy because he is very precise. I'm like, it's fine. We'll just, we'll do it. Throw a nail up there. And he's so much more mathematical than I am. I'm like, it'll be great. And I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but I'm just like, I just want to live with it and enjoy it and love it and put it on the walls and like, let's go and know that, it can change if I find something else. Like it's okay. But yeah, I think that, obviously, I think a basket can be a work of art. I think a plate can be a work of art. This mask, for instance, I found some vintage wallpaper and put the mask on the vintage wallpaper, and I love it. And I don't know that the mask is particularly valuable, but I love those patterns mixed together. And I think it's just a great reminder that things that you love, they can be really simple, but also so impactful and fun, and to surround yourself with things that you love is important. So this hallway kind of connects all of the bedrooms and the girls' Jack and Jill bathroom. And it just, I don't know, it just always felt a little blah and just needed some personality. And again, I do love black and white. It's so graphic. And so wallpaper, we thought about doing wallpaper in here and decided against it. And then I just kind of got in here with a beauty blender, like little sponges, wet it so that it was, a larger size. And basically kind of like, really, when you think about like the 80s and like sponging your walls and stuff with painting, that's kind of what I did. Okay, so this is my my son's room, and it's just, I think I wanted to share it with y'all because I think it's such a fun space. I've got some great vintage pieces in here. This rug, actually, my father brought it back from Turkey. It's a marriage rug, and the colors I just thought were so perfect for a boy. And what I think is so much fun about his room is he's this like sports loving, loves to kind of, be involved in all the things, but also really has this love of art and enjoys, lots of things. And sometimes I'll bring stuff home and he says, oh, is that for my room? I'm like, no, it's for me. But it's just so much fun to surround him. I think he caught a big sailfish and he wanted to, have that in his room. So that's been really fun. And then, I actually had brought home the Mexican restaurant sign from, again, another great antiques friend. And he fell in love with it, and I was like, why not? I mean, that's just fun, right? To have the Mexican restaurant sign in your room. And so it's really just filled with just a lot of things that like he loves. My daughter and I created these lampshades, just kind of doing some fun patterns and fabric markers and things like that. And he's an easy client. He was happy with just to have all the things. I think it's fun, again, to be surrounded by the things that you love. He really is my kind of coastal, like we both, love the coast. He loves the coast. He loves Florida. And so, that he loves to be surrounded by the things that he loves. So we've got lots of ships in here, huge Florida State fan. And so we've got lots of Native Americans in here. And I mean, just a really fun, lots of great, wonderful pieces. He wanted to have a desk in here. And so I actually found this again, it was a Facebook Marketplace find, but it's vintage, bamboo. It just worked really well in here. It's got great storage. And so, yeah, and I think it's just one of those pieces that I think will eventually be able to transition so well. You could almost use it as like a side table if you needed to, and so I love getting things like that for my kids that, hopefully maybe they'll use later on or could be used in other places or down the road or, but yeah, this is one of my favorite pieces too. So this is my daughter Harper's room, and it's been really fun because we just redid this space for her. She wanted something that felt a little more like her, a little more grown up, so I'm going to let her show all of you what she loves about her room.
Well, starting off, I absolutely love my bed. I love to read on it because I've been doing summer reading lately for school, and I just love to read on my bed. It's so comfortable. And then my desk over here, I absolutely love it. I love to do makeup. So it's like a vanity/desk. And I also for school, I'll come up here and do my homework and get that done. And then I have my floor-to-ceiling mirror. I absolutely love because I love to see my outfits every day. I love my pink dressers.
These were actually old that we repainted. And so they're vintage campaign pieces. And tell everybody what it is what you wanted for your room. That
I want it to feel a little bit more grown up. Something that I'll have till college, so I won't get tired of it. Not something too cutesy. Just lots of patterns that all fit together, that just look really nice together. I absolutely love my bulletin board. It's so cute. I love putting pictures of my friends on it, or Bible verses, or just little sweet notes that my friends have given me. I just love to put everything on there.
And that helped a lot with the colors that you love, because it has so colorful. It's from the inside, and it's just, it made it kind of easy because there's lots of colors to draw from.
So I definitely wanted bright colors, but not too bright, in your face, just something that's really nice. I love the yellows, I love the blues, I love the pinks. They just all are so pretty together. I absolutely just love them. They just look so great together. This color, this was also my original color that I had in my old room, but I just really love this color because I don't think I would want a teal or something that I might get bored of. I think this is just a really pretty color for in a room that you'll have till you're older and you won't get tired of. It's really pretty.
Harper loves new more than she loves old right now, and that may change, but what's really fun is that we actually found this old vintage, not super old, but just a vintage kind of ginger jar lamp, but it was fun because then she got to add her own twist to it with this really fun new shade. And that's always a fun way to take old things and make them feel maybe a little more contemporary or a little more like your own personality.
Okay, so I absolutely love my room, but when I get older and when I have house of my own, I already told her this, that she's not coming and designing it. Because I have a completely different style than her for a house, but for my room, I absolutely love this. I just love it.
So Homeworthy will have to come back and check Harper's house out, you know, in 20 years from now. Okay, so we are coming into my girls' bathroom. It's a Jack and Jill. And we really did not renovate the upstairs. I mean, this is pretty much true to what it was. And we originally, I had thought, I'm like, gosh, we probably should gut it. And I am so glad we did not gut it. I love it so much. It's probably one of my favorite spaces in the home. I mean, it's just, it has this like quirkiness to it that I think you just can't get other places. We did redo the vanities and had those, you know, changed out. But I mean, really, just changed out some lighting and, you know, painted the floors. But that was, you know, pretty much, we did it was mainly cosmetic. But what I think is probably the most fun that we did in here was to cover this whole area. So each of the girls have their own little vanity. This shower area, we covered the entire thing in wallpaper, and I just love it. I mean, obviously the flamingo. But it has been such a fun project, and a dear friend helped me with this area just to make sure it felt really cohesive and kind of individual to both of the girls and what they love and what they want. But I think it has turned out really, really great. It really is one of my most favorite spots. It really is a big space because both of the girls, so they each have their own separate vanities so they can get ready in the mornings, which, you know, having girls is key for school and things like that. And then, so you have kind of the shower area that connects both of the spaces. But I just love, you know, one side, the ceilings are really, really tall. On this side, the ceilings are much lower. And so, but it just has this quirky, fun feel to it that I think we would have lost some of the charm if we had totally just gutted everything. And so I think this was a really great solution. When we bought the house, they had covered them in carpet, and once we knew why, because they weren't in great shape. And that wasn't part of the original scope when we renovated, was to redo the hardwood. So we decided for now that we would just paint them. And I think it feels really true to the house. It's kind of been a great fit for us. Well, you know, it's so fun because I have a sweet friend, Hazel House Collective, that sells these beautiful rugs, and you know, again, kind of wanting things to feel cohesive, but not the exact same. And so I would say these rugs really do feel cohesive. They have got lots of similar colors and elements. My daughter and I found this one at a estate sale, and we, you know, have found some others along the way. But I love that they're just, they're all kind of, I don't know, they're all different, but they all kind of work together. And I think that just makes for such a fun story for the girls to have their own spots. I will say that this light fixture, I always get comments on it. People love this light fixture, and it really has been so much fun. I think it's a CB2 light fixture, if I remember, but I think they discontinued it, which I hate, but people love this light fixture, and it really, I think it works well with the house, and it's been fun to have in here, and it gives great lighting too. And so that's, you know, always key when you're putting on that makeup. So this is our front porch, and this is really what sold me on the house. The porch runs the entire width of the house, and then it really is like a whole other room for us. I mean, we live out here, especially in the fall and spring, even in the summer sometimes. I mean, my daughter loves to sit on the porch swing and read, and you know, we've got the fans, and there's just a really great, you know, cross breeze that comes from both sides. And so it's just so, I really tried to furnish it like it was another room, which it really is. And what's really fun is we kind of live on this main street here in Birmingham, and it's fun to watch the kids and families and people that we know and love, you know, walk by, and as they're headed down to maybe have dinner or something like that, because we live in a really walkable area. But this is just such a great a space for us, and we host lots of porch parties up here. Halloween is always fun up here because, you know, giving out candy, and we'll put a big crock pot of chili out here, and people can kind of come and go. And so it really has been such a wonderful space for us. And I have just, people always ask, you know, how does the furniture weather out here? And I mean, it weathers pretty well. I mean, it's a pretty deep porch. It's about 10 feet deep. And so I mean, you know, I just treat it like it's another room. And so we've got a vintage sofa here that a dear friend gave to me. We did have this porch swing made. That was one of the first things we did when we moved, and we have really enjoyed it. And just more chairs, and it's kind of like a come on over and hang out here. And what I love is that it then opens into our dining area and this front living area, and that really is so much fun, just to be able to, especially when the weather is nice, to open the doors wide open and just have people coming and going. I would say that, you know, just outdoor living, especially being in Alabama in the South, it's just been you know, so nice, because we do have such great weather most of, you know, probably 9 months out of the year. And even when it's really hot, we still get some great breezes. We'll still come out here in the evenings and things like that. So, you know, I wasn't necessarily saying, oh, I have to have a front porch, but I definitely love having an outdoor living space. And I will say that this, I mean, again, we eat out here a lot. We have, you know, front porch parties. I mean, this is just a great spot for us, and we just enjoy it so much. It really is another room for us. And so we've just, I mean, it was the thing that attracted me to the house. I mean, when I first saw it, I saw the front porch, and I told my husband, I'm like, this is it. This is the house. And I hadn't even been inside of it. Because we really have made so many, you know, wonderful memories out here as family and with our friends and neighbors. And it's just, it's been such a huge part of our home. And I mean, it is just a wonderful space for us. To me, it's family, it's friends, and I think it's making the most of the space that you have and learning to love it and really enjoying it and surrounding it with things that are meaningful to you and things that you love.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.